I'm in a hotel room in Queens. Today I entered the Army. Tomorrow I leave for basic training. The recruiters drove me here from the Manhattan office where we first met. All I have with me is what they allowed on the packing list: a small backpack with one pair of underwear, socks, a t-shirt, and my toiletries. I lie on a twin bed in a hotel room I'm sharing with Dale, another recruit. It is a cold fall morning in New York City. It's raining outside. I'm sitting on the toilet. I hear my mother crying from her bedroom. She's crying because it's raining on her father's grave. He was just recently buried, and this is the first time it's rained since we left him in the cemetery. She thinks of him wet, cold, and alone. She experiences fear and powerlessness, and it is familiar to me. Now, after my grandfather's death and seeing my mother's response, I can name the pursuer in my nightmares, that clown. It is death. Age 8. The nightmares began. I'm running. My pursuer is wearing a clown costume and has no difficulty catching up to me. We are outside my apartment building, running along the sidewalk next to a park where I played after school. I am powerless to stop him. I hear his footsteps closing in, and I'm running to escape him. When he catches up to me, whatever I do to make him stop, he just laughs. A gun that doesn't fire or shoots water or plastic pellets, punches that move like I'm underwater and have no force whatsoever. Whatever I try to do, he just laughs and is on my heels again and again, just as the nightmare recurs. I try for years in solitary playtime to uncover my personal superpower, to overcome that fear, by bringing into the nightmare a superpower I uncover in my waking life. I flick my wrist to shoot a spider web. I get down into a low crouch. I spring up in slow motion, make that noise, and jump onto the step in my playroom. Dodge bullets and run on water. Starting on the lawn, running onto the deck, onto the surface of our swimming pool in the Hamptons, keeping my feet flat, looking at the horizon, pumping my legs as rapidly as possible, and I run on top of the water. I focus on objects to will them to move across the room. Death versus faith. Age 18, Oskaloosa, Iowa. I'm at the kitchen table with John Van Wyck, Sr. and his wife. Mr. Van Wyck evinced an unprecedented courage, absence of fear of death. The father of the husband of the family I was staying with for the summer before college. The couple kept the butter on the table at room temperature. They went through whole sticks of butter so quickly they didn't even need to worry about refrigeration. When they applied butter to their toast, they did so by peeling long curls of it with their butter knife, lengthwise over the top of the bar. They explained their life purpose and their future peace with death as a result of their Christianity. I became a born-again Christian. With my grandfather's death and the fear I saw in my mother, I had begun to understand that my fear of the clown of death comes from an absence of an identified life's purpose. If life had something that we were supposed to do and wasn't just doubt and uncertainty, then we could do that thing, and death would be okay because we fulfilled life's purpose. My pursuer, I came to believe, was meaninglessness. While physical death may be the origin of my fear, it is not having meaning to make death okay that made the end so dreadful. Christianity gave that meaning and that purpose. Death versus philosophy. In college, I studied philosophy. Christianity had begun to feel, rather than an embrace of meaning, a manipulation of my reason in order to believe. I longed for the objective, true path, the one that didn't require mental gymnastics to daily persuade myself that it was the true path. I was on a path of rationality and introspection that began with Plato and progressed through history, that was headed for an understanding of the meaning of life and how best to live it. But the journey, I discovered, dead-ended with Descartes. After him, philosophy soured as it entered the 20th century, and deciding it couldn't know anything about the world, settled in to understand itself. Death versus the New York Times. The New York Times was the next candidate for my life purpose. It seemed to have all the authority of God that I liked about Christianity, and the practical commandments about how to live the good life that I liked about philosophy. But having structure and an objective framework wasn't the same as having a life purpose. It could make the moment-to-moment decisions clear, but not leave me at the end of the day feeling that I had accomplished some purpose. I longed to lose myself completely. Death versus the Army. I'm in a hotel room in Queens, my first day in the Army. Tomorrow I leave for basic training. I'm going to be a soldier, a life finally imbued with purpose that's descended from above, that isn't up to me to create and manage. Yes, there was a choice to join, but I get to give up choice hereafter. Choice, the loss of structure and clarity, became progressively more pervasive as I grew older. In high school, I had to decide each day where to go with my lunch tray, to be challenged by the doubt of where I belonged, whether a group would accept me. I ended up in the empty auditorium in the dark most days, crying often at how ugly I felt and how painful it was to be seen by others. Classes were so much easier than lunchtime, when my schedule told me where to go and took care of the question of did I belong. Identity and purpose were clear in the classroom and completely unclear in the lunchroom cafeteria. In college, free will yawned open before me. Everything I did felt arbitrary, like choosing a major, how long to study for a test, which test to study for, whether to rework the draft of that paper, what to do after college. In the Army, I'll be subsumed by a life purpose, able to return to the time when there wasn't the agony of free will. I turn to Dale. Sharing a hotel room with someone I've never met is much easier when I think that we share the common purpose of preparing for basic training. Small talk, we will both know, is irrelevant when we have something so big in common on which to focus. He's lying in the bed next to me. I asked him if I can turn off the lights. I know he'll say yes. The recruiters told us we have to be downstairs for breakfast at 4 a.m. tomorrow morning.